last time. Let's get Lincoln all caught up. There's kind of zombie walking around last time.
A vibe.
You put the pedal to the metal and gunned it across the sands of Avernus and parked up in the protruding bones of some giant creature sticking up out of the sands near the Stygian docks. Following Adriesta's vision, you snuck into service corridors, maintenance corridors of some kind, and squeezed your way through the machinery and pipes of the docks. After the fight with the demons on the way, you decided you needed a rest and were looking for somewhere, when one of Horvin's feathers yanked free and went off down a side corridor. Following it, everyone found themselves in a dark, neglected-looking storage room. The perfect spot for a short rest. Now, the feather carried on and rested on a crate, which promptly fell to pieces under Horvin's hands, and most of it being old, mouldy, destroyed adventuring gear that was useless. But down beneath that, there was a book. The book that Horvin had been promised, all about demons. And beneath the book, there was another item that was in decent condition. There was a bag with some kind of druidic symbolry on it. Horvin, of course, was like, "Oh, Tarina, here you go." Passed that over, and Tarina immediately tried it out, tossing one of the little furry balls inside to Horvin to catch, which he deftly caught, and was promptly pinned to the ground by a full-size lion.
Fun.
Yes, I got a bag of tricks.
Oh, I love that item.
It was a really fun session, yeah.
You carried on after the rest, up into the docks and up into the flying fortress itself, and you managed to sneak your way, avoiding the patrols and guards that were making their way around. And you overheard, or Horvin overheard, a couple of guards chatting with each other. Chatting about the prisoner they were guarding, and you heard the cries and pathetic whimperings of someone clearly being held against their will. And Horvin heard a name that Tarina remembered, belonging to a devil in Baldur's Gate. A devil that had been guarding things below Vanthampa Manor, but had escaped whilst you were busy with the Duke.
Ooh.
A full-on charge was quickly decided. 2 more furry balls were thrown down the corridor ahead of the charge, and the lion was joined in combat by a giant goat and a rat.
Oh, yeah. They're lethal in battle, I've heard. Rats.
Oh, deadly. It got stomped on quite quickly. But then the bearded devils got stomped on in return, and you were left alone in this prison block with its sole, if you'll excuse the pun, inhabitant, who you realized was the devil previously known as Thavius Krieg. Turned into a devil as promised in his contract, but locked away by Zariel down here He tried to plead for his life and lie his way out of the situation. So 2 seconds. Yeah. And seeing through his lies and knowing that he was just going to be trouble, you slow motion walked away as Tarina unleashed a bear and 2 alligators.
Oh my god.
Or was it an alligator and 2 bears? I can't remember. But as she released them into the cell through the bars and walked away with a final sick 'em. And you heard the end of Thavius Krieg rather than seeing it. But it did not sound good. Now, carrying on up through the fortress towards the command deck, there seemed to be a scaling down of guards. They seemed to be further away and not so hard to avoid. And as you arrived outside the command deck...
Sorry, I sneezed. That sound I can...
That was epic.
Is that me? Hello?
Hi, we can hear you. Yep.
Was that breathing me? I don't think it actually was.
I don't know. Got the sneeze.
Because it wasn't matching it with mine. Interesting. Who knows
Okay.
what it's from.
Anyway, so standing outside the command deck, deciding what to do, you suddenly found yourselves engulfed in a red force field, unable to move and levitated slightly off the floor as the doors slid open to reveal a full complement of guards, 2 giant winged bone devils, the Arinius commanding officer, and in, for want of a better word, the captain's chair, Zariel herself.
You're muted, Emma.
I know, for a good reason. I thought a freaking scream just then.
No, we want to hear it. We want to hear that. Now, you were drawn into the room. And first, Adriestra spoke up. But not before transforming into her true form, a coatl.
Oh!
One of the coatls that had descended into Avernus with Zariel in her original charge, wanting to once again pledge her allegiance and fight by her mistress's side. But there was something wrong with this coatl. A very evident fact in the way she immediately offered you up as sacrifice to prove her commitment. But Zariel was not pleased with this. If she had survived the initial attack, she was clearly a coward and no use to her. And the coatl's brains were quickly splashed across the command deck floor.
Cool. Great, cool.
Zariel then turned her attention to the rest of you and plucked Horvin from the group and yanked him forwards to her side, chastising him for killing 2 of her very useful spies, Pins and Needles.
And needles. Oh no. This is great.
She was deciding, oh, what can I do with you? What can I do with you? And then she said, yes, you're the knowledgeable one. You like learning. You like your intellect. What if that were to be taken away? She detailed the horrific effects of the river Styx, the waters of which will reduce you to a dribbling fool, incapable of communication or any lucid thought. But she decided just telling you wasn't really enough. And she couldn't have cultists of Tiamat running around willy-nilly. Altis the cultist was yanked from the group, handed to the flying boned devil, which was in chat, that horrible butterfly-winged monstrosity, and the devil flew out the window, disappearing from sight, except for Horvin, who was thrust up against the window, and watched as the bone devil swooped down to where the soles of the sticks were being drawn up to fuel the flying fortress. The bone devil thrust Altis into the stream, pulled him out, and came flying back up, whereupon Altis was deposited on the deck in front of you, bereft of any intelligence and any shred of his former self. Zariel said there was one course of action, that you all sign a contract to no longer meddle in her affairs, and that you would return to her a collection of rods, solar insidiator rods that had been stolen from her possession and had gone missing. She tasked you with finding them, if at all possible. And all of you were standing there thinking, we had them this morning. And she tasked you with finding them and returning them to her within the 30 days that Altis had before the effects went permanent. The contract was drawn up in the flesh of Altis's back, as his eyes and mouth were sewn shut by steel filaments from the floor, and you were dragged forward, one by one, to sign. Firemore, appealing to Zariel's lack of efficient lieutenants, signed, but not before Horvin had quickly scribbled his name, seeing what could possibly happen to him and his precious intellect. Lincoln. Sorry, I made a decision for you here. Lincoln. The only foreseeable future for him, knowing that, the show must go on. Regretfully? No. What's the wording for? Thought hard about it, but finally decided that the only possible thing to do was to sign and then find some way to rescue Altis. And that left one more. Tarina.
Did she sign?
Thinking hard about her sister and all the poor people in Elturel. In all good conscience, decided that she could not sign the contract.
I do think that if Tarina didn't sign, Lincoln definitely wouldn't have. Is the only thing. But I wasn't there, so I would have sided with Tarina. Is this all I have to add?
Okay.
I could still sign it if it all goes to shit, but I just think I would follow her lead. Because she's my best friend.
She also isn't in the call.
I think you should continue, John.
Oh no.
And she isn't in the call for a reason. Tarina was also yanked away by a bone devil and drawn out of the window and below, out of sight. And Zariel bid all of you get out of her sight, but not before slowly running a finger along Firemore's glaive and asking that he look after these folks of his that he's with. And I want to add something to that, Josh. As she did that, she kind of whispered to Firemore as she was up close. And you were saying about my need for effective lieutenants. I'll be watching. And she said, now, get out of my sight and take that, gesturing to Lulu, take that thing out of my sight. And she gestured to Altis. I have a new pet. And bearded devils formed up around you and marched alongside as you were forced from the room. You were escorted down through the flying fortress, out, back onto the Stygian dock, through a more regular portal than you came in. As you're all wondering what just happened, and being herded along, Lulu, completely dejected, flying so low, she's basically walking on the ground. She flies along with you as you're walked out down to the sands of the side of the river again. Up on the side of the dock, you see that horned devil who's in charge of the Stygian dock, Basilstein. He looks over, sees you in the company of Zariel's guards, and nods, recognizing that you're there in some capacity. And the guards stay with you until you get back to where the tour bus and the Black Parade were parked, out of sight. Turn on the heel and start to march away.
Okay, I think what would have probably happened for Lincoln would be that he would have seen what happened to Tarina after siding with her and realized the only way he could save her is by signing. That is the kind of... Yeah. Okay. Very upset about Tamina. Emma says in real life.
The end of last week was the thing.
Yeah, I was on hold.
She's upset too, for the record.
Okay. Lincoln just looks shell-shocked and is probably just sitting on the tour bus we've got to do the things. Rods, we had them. Let's go get them now.
Let's get in the fucking bus.
Yeah.
Lulu,
on the bus.
Lulu just dejectedly flying around the group as you're talking, is just she was so gone. She wasn't her. But yes, if Zariel is looking for those things that you had, then you won't be the only people she's sent.
Fucking kill them too.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about anyone else. I just want to stay for friends.
Is everyone in the bus at this point?
Sure.
Yeah.
Orvin is going to like push through everyone to the helm of the tour bus and like slam the map down on the, I guess, the dashboard, and immediately start the machine and just choking it back like, we're going to Maggie's.
I'm not gonna stop you. Let's do it.
Punch it and start going.
I'll assist in any way that I can. I don't know if anything I can do as a character would help speed up the process.
Well, you're driving the back parade,
Yeah,
aren't you?
just jump in the Black Parade. Yeah.
Sorry, when I said I was sitting on the tour bus, I think I meant the Black Parade. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. Okay. So, all of you jump in and get the engines roaring and calm that music down. And the machines kick up a spray of that Avernus sand as you start making your way inland first, because it's too dangerous to travel along the banks of the river, where conflicts could erupt at any point, any moment. You head inland a bit, and then start. If you look on the map, it's not too far.
Yeah.
You start to go inland towards where a branch of the river actually does almost break through, and to where there's a large, you see this large lake of fire. It's not actually the same water as the Styx. On your right, where you see that big lake of it's actually a lake of fire, and you can see a tower on an island in this lake of fire, quite far away to the west there. And you carry on down, and you come across a point. Let's see here. I think Horvin, your map might have something to say as we speed by.
As close to a place of pilgrimage as you will find in this accursed place. A beacon to those seeking the missing link or looking for a way out.
The cartographer pipes up as you make your way past these vast chains, very similar to those holding Elturel, but they lie sundered and broken in the dust and the sands of Avernus. And it looks like there was somewhere similar to Elturel that escaped its confines.